Hello and welcome to this new video for me. Today I want to present you Regulation F winning teams. I will tell you why they were so good. I will give you pastes. I will give you spreads. I will explain what's behind those. And I think it's a great start for the next week, right? Because Regulation F starts in the next week. And I think recapping all the regional winning teams as well as the EUAC winning team from Nils Dunlop is not a bad idea. Since I expect this video to be longer than anticipated, as always, I split this video in two halves, and the second half will come online next week or the week after. Depends on how well I do in Stuttgart, because I might talk a little bit in a video about Stuttgart next week, but that's a different topic. Let's take a look at the Regulation F winning team, starting off with the Portland winning team from Alex Underhill. And this team is actually really cool because we have an Entei with Assault Vest Terra Grass. We've got Ogre upon Wellspring with Horn Leech and Follow Me. The grass move differs. Some people run Power Whip, some people run Wood Hammer, some people run Horn Leech. Grassy Glide is also used occasionally if paired with Willaboom. You have a lot of options as a grass move. We've got Raging Bull with Terra Water Safety Goggles, a set we haven't seen since, I would say. Booster Energy Fluttermane with Special Attack Boost, Terra Normal Choice Band Dragonite, and obviously paired together with Chien Pao. And this team, I had a lot of fun playing with it. If you want to dig deep into the spreads or also into some games, I streamed with the teams I present you today on Twitch. So you can also feel free to check it out. But yeah, what makes this team so strong, first of all? This team is a priority spam team. You have Sucker Punch, you have Extreme Speed twice, you have Thunderclap. So by using your priorities, you don't really care if your opponent sets up Tailwind, unless obviously they have a Farigiraf or an Indeedee. But against Indeedee, you have Ice Spinner on the Champo to get rid of the Psychic terrain. And Farigiraf doesn't do a lot against your team. It doesn't have the greatest damage output, and you threaten it a lot with Outrage from Dragonite, Moonblast from Special Attack Booster Fluttermane, Entei as well does a lot of damage. And in general, you also have a lot of Pokemon that pair well with Sword of Wind, with Dragonite, Entei, and Ogapon. And overall speaking, I think this team could still do well nowadays. Obviously, Regulation F 2.0 will probably be way different than Regulation F 1.0. I mean, we have seen this with Regulation G and Regulation H, so I expect it to be the same in Regulation F, but this team is actually tons of fun. Speaking of which, Champo you should always play with 4 defense. If you want 4 HP, I will find where you live, because you survive a Terra Water Surging Strikes from, not a Terra Water Surging Strikes, but you survive a water, like Surging Strikes from Urshifu if they are not Mystic Water. Or Life Orb or Choice Band or Terra Water or whatever. But Choice Scarf or Focus Sash Surging Strikes cannot KO Champo. If you run 4 defense, it can. So please run 4 defense instead of 4 HP. Yeah, Dragonite is also a pretty simple spread. It's 189 HP to survive most common moves like a Specs Moonblast from Fairy Fluttermane, if you go Terra Normal, and 110 speed is usually pretty good because that way you outspeed a Willaboom that doesn't invest into speed that much. You also outspeed 4-speed Goldango. I know that some people played a really bulky Goldango in the past with really like it's really bulky with not a lot of speed EVs, so you also outspeed those and some as well. With a Flutter main, you have the same special attack and speed stat. It's not random which boost you get. You will always get a special attack boost because the order is attack first, defense then special attack, special defense, speed. I don't know why that's the order, but it's been the same with Beast Boost. So yeah, 187 speed allows this Flutter main to outspeed common threats like Ogre-Pawn, Tornadus, but also it speed ties Adamant Chiempao as well as Modest Flutter main. And that's really cool. We don't want to run Timid because then we will get a speed booster. And this is also the reason why we are not playing Adamant Chiempao, because then our Chiempao would speed tie with our own Flutter main, and we don't want that. And the physical bulk allows us, I think it was to survive an Adamant Ice Spinner from Chiempao. Could have also been a Jolly Icicle Crash, but it was for a Chiempao card. He also survived a sort of wind boosted Grassy Glide from Rillaboom. And the physical bulk is actually more important than the special bulk here. So yeah, 3 attacks Flutter main, even though it doesn't have speed control with Tailwind or an Icy Wind Pokemon, it is still really good on this team. Really big fan, especially if you're paired with Dragonite as well, because Flutter main can punish Terra Ghosts with Shadow Ball. Both Pokemon are immune to Fake Out, so Dragonite Flutter main, really cool. Reminds me of my Dragonite Calyrex Shadow combination of worlds this year. And then we've got Safety Goggles Raging Bolt, and Safety Goggles Raging Bolt is actually an interesting pick. It matches up super nicely into Lilligant Torkoal combinations. Also, since we only have one sleep immunity, or spore immunity rather, in Ogre-Pawn, having a second one definitely doesn't hurt. Terra Water is a great Terra choice against Chiempao, and also not being weak to Landorus, like the most common Terra type on Raging Bolt, I would say, is Terra Fairy, but then you can just get Sludge Bombed or also get hit by Make It Rain from Goldango, and this is where Terra Water can actually come into play quite nicely. And I think the physical bulk allows us to survive Adamant Ice Spinner as well as Icicle Crash most of the time. We hit the bump in special attack. Also, Thunderclap is a good chance to KO Urshifu Rapid Strike, and then 20 speed to outspeed opposing Raging Bolt, who do not invest a lot into the speed. That's the idea behind that. You also outspeed some Pokemon when they are paralyzed, like some timid Flutter main are around 191, 192, right? So you outspeed them if you get a Thunderbolt Para on those. Why are they 191, 192? I know that Robbing Moon hits 188, so they won 189, but then plus 2 Jolly Dondozo hits 190 once it's plus 2 speed, so that's why they won 191, and to speed creep those they won 192, so you outspeed everything up to 195 if they are paralyzed, because 195 is also 97 if they are paralyzed, because it rounds down. And then we've got Entei. This spread does a lot. It hits with bump in attack. It's faster than Modest Goldango, Adamant Excalibur, Jolly Smeargle, and it survives Earth Power from Landorus, which is kind of crazy. It survives a sort of Wind Booster Close Combat from Urshifu, and overall this spread is honestly phenomenal. I think it's amazing. Terragrass, Assault Dress Entei is also a Pokemon that matches up super well into some teams and quite bad into some others, but in those matchups where it's good, it is really good, trust me. I think Entei is an underutilized Pokemon. I mean, I'm a little biased, right? I've played Entei in Regulation F 1.0. It was Choice Band though. I also played it at Worlds in Hawaii. I'm a big anti-fan. And then last but not least, we have this Ogre Pawn, which survives a Terror Normal Extreme Speed with Sword of Wind active, as well as Sword of Wind Close Combat, if I remember correctly. We survive a Sludge Bomb from Landorus, which means if we go Terror Water and get the special defense boost, we survive 3 or like 2 Earth Powers rather. The third Earth Power from Landorus would KO us. And then I decided to go with an Adamant nature, because I feel like with Horn Leech you really want to run Adamant, because you really want to one-hit KO Urshifu Rapid Strike with Sword of Wind, or if they are -1 defense. And then the remaining 28 I put into speed. Also outspeeds Adamant Max Speed Dragonite, which could be a thing. Some people played Scale Short Dragonite in the past, right? On Gouging Fire teams especially, with Howl. So 132 speed is the speed Adamant Dragonite hits. So for Pokemon that speed creep on this with 133, we speed creep on them. So yeah, I think the team is really cool. I'm a big fan. You should try it out yourself. And then we've got Wolfe, Glick and Antonio Sanchez, who used the very same team to win Charlotte or Liverpool respectively. And it features Safety Goggles and Incineroar plus Assault as Rillaboom, a core that's just super strong, especially if paired with Choice Scarf, Urshifu, Terra Water, Flutter Mane with Speed Booster, Corbine, Terra Grass. We will talk about that in a second. Throat Spray, Terra Fairy, Farigiraf, and Sword Stance, Ogre Pawn Half-Flame. So yeah, this team is amazing. I don't think it's as strong anymore, but Farigiraf was just a great adaptation to block the priority spam, and it's also great into Incineroar Rillaboom teams, especially if your opponent brings Incineroar Rillaboom Urshifu and you have Terra Fairy Farigiraf with Fake Out support on your own, and you can just spam Hyper Voices. It just feels amazing. What should I say? But yeah, let's start off by talking about the Choice Scarf Urshifu. I think this is the least spectacular. This Urshifu outspeeds Smeargle and Excalibur, so pretty much the same as I just said. And it hits with Bump and Attack, and it survives a Terra Normal Extreme Speed with Sword of Wind from Dragonite, in case you don't have Farigiraf on the field. Surviving that is not bad, because that way you also survive a Grassy Glide from Sword of Wind, Assault Vest Rillaboom most of the time. I just said from Sword of Wind Rillaboom, but you get what I mean if Rillaboom is paired with Champo on the field. And then the special defense bulk actually allows this Urshifu to survive an Earth Power from Landorus, which is amazing. It also survives, if you go to Water, I think it can survive Moonblast from Specs Flutter Mane. It is actually really good. And it's just your standard Scarf Urshifu set. I think Urshifu Rapid Strike, was it the most used one back in Regulation F? It was one of the most used, together with Incineroar, Rillaboom, Raging Bolt, Flutter Mane and Landorus Eye is my guess. Champo is also up there. But yeah, Urshifu, really good. Then we've got Assault Vest Rillaboom, and this Assault Vest Rillaboom survives Ice Spinner most of the time from Champo. I think Icicle Crash is still a KO. That's why it's still max HP and not invested that much into defense. And the special defense is for, I think it was for Terra Fairy, Specs, Beats of Wind, Moonblast from Flutter Mane, if I remember correctly. Terra Poison is a good Terra here to get rid of Toxic Spikes, which could be set up by Glimmora. Also, Terra Poison helps out against Flutter Mane, as well as Urshifu. Like Urshifu has to play a guessing game if they want to click Close Combat or Searching Strikes, and Terra Poison is really good into that as well. In general, on this team in particular, you don't really Terra Rillaboom ever, so yeah, Terra Poison just for the niche situations can be quite impactful. When we've got Incineroar, I really like this Incineroar spread because it survives Terra Fairy's Moonblast from Specs Flutter Main, and then has a lot of defense investment just to take hits better from Ogapon Half-Flame, as well as Urshifu, as well as Incineroar, Rillaboom. The meta in general, I would say, is mostly physical. You also survive 2 Sacred Sword from Adamant Champo. I think you also survive 2 Terra Stellar Sacred Sword from Jolly Champo after an Intimidate. And that's why I really like to invest a lot into defense. I know some people play 156 Carful Incin, but I think that's just not correct. Oh, also, as you can see, 77 speed to be slower than Farigiraf, because most of the time if you have Incineroar Farigiraf, you want to have Trick Room up, and that means that your Incineroar moves before Farigiraf, so you want to click Knock Off to knock key items like Citrus Berry, Assault Vest, or Eviolite before your Farigiraf gets to move. Which leads me to the next point, Farigiraf. We have Intimidate support to deal with the lack of physical defense. A lot of special attack is definitely helpful because this Farigiraf is supposed to deal damage, and then a lot of special defense to just take the special hits better from Goldengo, Landorus Eye, Fluttermane, Chiyu, Glimmora, and Co. So yeah, I think this spread is just the best you can play. It's also the spread you can find in the calc. It's also the spread that Wolfe used. So I made a lot of calcs to try to optimize it even further, but I think this is actually the best Farigiraf spread possible. And then we've got the Ogapon. It's just max speed, even though you have Grassy Glide. And you might ask, wait, why? You have Sword Stance, Spiky Shield, Grassy Glide. Why would you want max speed? But it's actually super important to outspeed Landorus Eye with this Ogapon. And if you outspeed Landorus Eye, I think you should also outspeed Lilligant, he's 3. So 173 is the minimum speed you should run on the Ogapon. And it is actually also quite impactful to at least speed tie opposing Ogapon, so that's why max speed definitely helps out with that as well, because sometimes Ogapon Half-Flame can be a little stressful for this team. So speed tying votes is actually super important. Also, you outspeed maybe some of the Ogapon Wellspring, which are only faster than opposing Landorus, and maybe some points more, and then you can just Ivy Cudgel them before they can Ivy Cudgel you, right? So I think max speed is just the smartest. So yeah, it's just, it looks boring, but it's the best. And then last but not least, we've got Fluttermane with Speed Booster Terra Grass. Really good Pokemon in especially the Rain matchup. And Terra Grass obviously helps to get around the Amoonguss and also resist Urshifu moves and also resist Rillaboom's moves. I think Terra Grass Fluttermane is actually really, really nice here. I decided to go with a speed stat of 180. The reason of that is that you want to outspeed Tornadus. Even if you get a speed drop from Icy Wind or Bleak Wind Storm, you still hit the speed stat of 180, and Tornadus has 179, and that also means that you outspeed opposing Ogapon as well, which hits 178. So that was the least speed you should play on the Fluttermane. And then I decided to go for a HP defense spread, which allows you to survive the Surging Strikes from Urshifu even without Terra Grass, which means you survive 2 if you go Terra Grass, or you survive 1 Terra Water Rain boosted, or probably not quite, but you can survive a Terra Water Rain boosted Surging Strikes as well. And the special attack allows the Fluttermane to OKO some Urshifu with +1 if they go Terra Water themselves, right? So that's really, really neat. And overall, I felt like that this spread is actually the best. You also get extra Grassy Train recovery once you hit 144 HP. So you should not really run less than that unless there's a specific calc. But with 116 HP, you also survive a Meteor Beam from Glamora every time, as well as a Sludge Bomb from Landorus, even if you Terra. That is not most of the time, it depends on the investment, but if they are 116 Modest or 252 Timid, I think it's like a 12% roll that they can OKO you if you are Full Life and Terra Grass. But yeah, this team is a lot of fun to play because you have a lot of different modes. You have a Fluttermane sweeper mode, you have a Ogerpon sweeper mode, you have the Farigiraf mode, you have Instant Willer Urshifu in general, and this is what makes this team overall so good. And I'm a huge fan. I haven't really explained the Terra choice on Incineroar, but it's Terra Ghost to get around fighting moves or a Fake Out in a pinch, right? Also helps against extreme speed, I guess. But yeah. Next up, we have the Melbourne team from Kiran Singh. And I think this team is actually also really good because it features a ton of modes as well, and I think when I tested it, it felt good at least. It doesn't mean that it has to be good, but as long as the testing goes well, there has to be something onto it, right? So we got a Safety Goggles Taunt in Incineroar, not knockoff, because we already have a strong Dark type attacks and a strong knockoff on Roaring Moon. Adamant Roaring Moon with attack booster. We will talk about that in a sec. Ivy Cudgel Horn Leech Ogerpon again with Follow Me. Choice Specs Fluttermane with Perish Song. Assault Vest Terra Fairy Raging Bolt and Terra Fairy Citrus Berry Among Us. In general, the reason why you see a lot of Terra Fairy in this format is that there are no big offensive poison types. Like the only one I can think of is like Glamora, I guess Okidogi, and Sludge Bomb Landorus with Terra Poison. But those are the poison type attacks, and then on the steel type spectrum you only got Goldango pretty much. I think that's it. Chaludon is quite rare. Ironhead King Gambit is super rare. So yeah. Terra Fairy helps out a ton against Regidrago, also against Urshifu Single Strike. Especially against this team, you can see Urshifu Single Strike being a problem, right? So first of all, this Among Us survives Adamant Ice Spinner from Chiempao, as well as Jolly Icicle Crash most of the time, while the Special Defense Bulk allows us to also survive a Hurricane from Pelipper, and the speed is made to be slower than Ursaluna min speed, so that you can get a point puff of before or a spore on the other slot, and that's the reason behind that. And yeah, then we've got the Raging Bolt, which is a pretty standard set. Some people run Electro Web on the Assault Vest Raging Bolt, but Electro Web doesn't really benefit a lot of the mates because Fluttermane doesn't have Protect, so going for Electro Web next to Fluttermane proves to be difficult. And then Roaring Moon has Dragon Dance anyways, Among Us is slow and Stewart's not super fast, so I get not using Electro Web here and instead go for Thunderbolt. Some people drop Thunderbolt, but Thunderbolt is actually really, really valuable against Ogerpon Wellspring, because if you don't have Thunderbolt, Terra Water Wellspring with Follow Me is actually a little annoying, and Thunderbolt is just overall great to have. Speed to outspeed Modest Ursaluna Blood Moon, and then the bump in special attack, HP defense spread to survive Adamant Icicle Crash from Chiempao. The special defense allows you to survive, I think it was an Earth Power from Landorus. So yeah, overall a really, really strong Raging Bolt spread. Then specs flutter main. You can customize your flutter main however you want, but I decided to go for a 191 speed stat. I talked about it a little while ago, and then with the HP defense spread, you survive searching strikes from Ushi for most of the time. You could also run more special attack, but with Terra Fairy and Choice specs, I would say that you don't need it and you rather want to have a sustain. I guess with double redirection and Intimidate on Incineroar, it also makes sense to run a little more special attack, but in testing, this bulk has felt really, really good. So as I said, I will just show you what I tested with and what felt good. If you want to change things, that's just totally up to you. And as you can see here, Ogapon, it's not the same spread as on the Underhill team, because I felt like this Ogapon has to outspeed Modest Geo and Modest Landorus at least. Maybe it also has to outspeed Timid Landorus, because you have Incineroar, you have Raging Bolt, you have Fluttermane. A lot of the team just gets Earth powered. The problem I have personally with running 159 speed on Ogapon is that you lose a lot of EVs in the process, right? Because this is the speed you need to outspeed Timid Landorus, and then you only have not a lot of EVs left, and that's why I am greeding a little. It's probably not quite correct, but I think it's fine. I think it was this, right? I think it was this. It survives Terranormal sort of wind E-speed most of the time, as well as with CC from Urshifu. It KOs -1 defense Urshifu with Horn Leech. So they CC you, they drop -1, you Horn Leech, go back to full bit pretty much. That's a pretty cool interaction. And then a lot into special defense to survive Timid Sludge Bomb. So in case they are Timid Landorus, you survive with Sludge Bomb as well, which is pretty neat. And in general, this team has Fake Out, Double Redirection to let Roaring Moon shine. And with this Roaring Moon, I had so many problems EVing this. Jolly is probably the go-to play. I wanted to survive a Terra Water Searching Strikes, so that's why, or a sort of Wind Booster Searching Strikes, which is why we see 90 to 108. This also survives an Icicle Crash from Champa once they are intimidated, and I decided to go for a very strong Roaring Moon. It's not quite correct, I'm pretty sure of that. I think it probably makes more sense to be 180 speed, especially if your Ogapon is so slow, to outspeed opposing Ogapon and threaten a KO with Terra Flying Acrobatics. You still want to run attack boost though, so you have to drop the defense, which means, or the HP, which means you don't get the Surging Strikes calc anymore. But yeah, you can run a spread like this, pretty similar to the Fluttermane booster energy I explained before. You would get an attack boost, even though your attack stat and the speed stat is the same. But since testing went well with what I played here, I will just showcase you this. You are faster than all the base 90s. Also after Dragon Dance you would speed Choice Scarf and Annihilate, which is not super common, but it can come up quite a bit. So yeah, you also outspeed Modest Pelipper in Tailwind, right? Because Modest Pelipper hits 234, and once you are +1 you hit 235. So you outspeed that as well. But yeah, Roaring Moon in general, a Pokemon where you really have to think about what do you want to survive, how strong do you want to be, which speeds that you want to hit. But I decided to go with this, and I think it's pretty good. And then we've got Incineroar. Taunt actually really valuable here, especially for the Roaring Moon, to deny a parting shot from opposing Incineroar, as well as denying Spore from Amoonguss. And in general, Taunt is just a really good tool in this meta. Helps against Trick Room Farigiraf, against Hard Trick Room in general. So yeah, Still, I was not sure on the speed stat. As you can see, this Insinua is still quite slow, even though we have taunt. Why is that? I really think that Insinua needs the bulk on this team to stay alive on the field. I think, especially if you want safety goggles, the only sets where I see a lot of speed being used on Insinua are Citrus Berry or Assault Vest. With safety goggles, I just feel like you have to survive the moves like Terra Fairy Moonblast from Specs Fluttermane, and on the physical side we had, I think it was, if you go Terra Ghost, you survive Tower Water, Surging Strike, Swift Sword of Wind from Shifu, as well as 2 Sacred Sword from Adam and Pau. And I think it's just super important to survive these. Still a little bit of speed, so maybe outspeed Insinua, which have even less speed. But yeah, that's the reasoning behind that. And yeah, with this team, like, your modes are pretty straightforward. You can go for like Fluttermane Ogapon and just go for Dancing Gleam Ivy Cudgel spam, or have redirection available if Fluttermane is threatened. Another mode is like Warring Moon with Insinua and double redirection. Raging Bolt is just there to help patch up the matchup against Goldango a little bit, because Goldango plus redirection could get tricky, but this is where Snarl Raging Bolt actually comes into play. And Raging Bolt is just one of the best Pokemon in the formats, right? That's why it's on the thumbnail as well. It's a very popularizing Pokemon. But yeah. And last but not least, we still have 2 teams to talk about. We have Toler Webb's Knoxville team, and I just talked about it. Citrus Berry and Incineroar can be faster. I think if Incineroar outspeeds Rillaboom, especially on this team, I think it has to. It is a huge momentum swing. It also outspeeds Pelipper, outspeeds most of opposing Incineroar, and yeah, I think overall it's just really strong. I think the special defense was there to survive a Sludge Bomb from Landorus, right? If you go Terra Grass. So yeah, Jolly Incineroar trying to have the fastest fake out possible in the game. So yeah, that leads me to the Goldango. Goldango here is slower than Incineroar. It's still fast enough to outspeed Modest Landorus with Choice Scarf, because Modest Choice Scarf Landorus hits 229, and if you have Tyrant up, you hit 230. And the reason why I made Incineroar faster than Goldango, it's the same reason I talked about on the Farigiraf team. You want to knock the important items before your Goldango gets to move. And that's why I decided to go for that. Also with this defense that you survive, I think it was Terra Water Surging Strikes in Sword of Wind. It's been a while since I made the spreads, so I do apologize if I misremember some things. But yeah, Terra Fairy helps out a ton against Raging Bolt, because Terra Fairy can actually set up on Raging Bolt quite easily, and obviously helps against Urshifu Single Strike. Speaking of which, we have Urshifu Single Strike on this team, and it pairs really well with this Goldango, because Urshifu Single Strike forces opposing Pokemon to go Terra Fairy, and then Goldango can punish them, right? And it's just Adamant Urshifu. You should play 4 special defense instead of 4 HP or 4 defense. 4 HP seems intriguing, right? Because you can get the extra Grassy Terrain recovery. But 4 special defense actually increases the chance to survive a special attack booster. Tachyon Cutter from Iron Crown. I think with 4 special defense, it's a 40% chance to KO. You can also run like 20 special defense when it's a 25% chance to KO. It's just a preference thing where you say how how important it is to survive with Tachyon cutters, I decided to cut a little bit and say 40% is good enough, because we have Gold Angle, we have Incineroar, we have Ogapon, which can go Terra Water and get a Spidef boost, we have Snarl, a Raging Bolt, which is why I thought that this is good enough. And yeah, Raging Bolt, pretty much the same spread as in the last team, just one speed more to outspeed the 105 speed Pokemon, and then 1 HP more instead of special defense, cause the Earth Power roll actually stays the same that way. And yeah, pretty funny. I already explained it. Also, the same moves actually on the Raging Bolt, same Terra. I think there's no explanation needed. And then we've got Ogapon Wellspring. This Ogapon, I decided here, this has to be faster than Landorus, because you see the team, right? Incineroar, Earth Power, Raging Bolt, Earth Power, Gold Angle, Earth Power, and Urshifu, it's the Single Strike variant. It doesn't even OKO Landorus. So since the team is super weak to Landorus, Gold Angle can also not really defensively Terra out of this, because it's Terra Fairy, and Landorus always carries Sludge Bomb. This Ogapon, there's no sugarcoating it, it needs to be jolly. So yeah. Still decided to go for 60 attack and 28 special defense. I think 60 attack is needed to KO Landorus with Ivy Cudgel pretty much every time. And maybe with a bulk we can survive a Sludge Bomb from Landorus. Unlikely, but we can. So yeah. And then last but not least, we've got the Tornadus. I like modest Tornadus a lot here, because this Tornadus has to deal damage. Raging Bolt doesn't deal the greatest damage, Ogapon doesn't deal the greatest damage, Incineroar doesn't deal the greatest damage, and that's why I decided to go with a modest Tornadus. Enough bulk to survive an Adamant Sacred Sword if you go Terra Steel from Chiempao. You also survive a Terra Water Surging Strikes from Urshifu, as well as a Sword of Ruin boosted Surging Strikes. Terra Steel is being chosen here to resist Make It Rain, but more importantly resist Ice Crash from Chiempao. You also resist Dragon Energy, I guess, as well as Moonblast from Fluttermane. So there are a lot of things Terra Steel can actually be good for. Rain Dance, even though we don't have Urshifu Rapid Strike, helps out Ogapon a ton and also removes the fire weakness from Gold Angle. Yeah, this Tornadus hits 135 speed. I think the special defense was for a Specs Moonblast from Fluttermane, and then I put the rest into speed 135. Yeah, also outspeeds, I guess, Tornadus. If you get Icy Winded, for example, you hit ahead. Or a Bleak Wind Storm speed dropped. You have a speed stat of 90, so in Tyrant you hit 180. the magical 180, which outspeeds Ogapon and Tornadus. This is a speed stat that is actually super important to know when building a team. Ogapon has 178, Tornadus has 179, so if possible, you should go for 180 with your Pokemon. Technically, you go 180 with this Tornadus if you keep in mind that Bleak Wind Storm speed drop is actually not super unlikely, 30%. So outspeeding Tornadus, regardless of that, in Tyrant, actually huge. And then last but not least, we've got Florian Temme's team, and this team kind of reminds me of the team that won LAIC just a little while ago, because it has Helping Hand, Farigiraf plus like Helping Hand, Citrusberry, Trickroom, Farigiraf plus Ursaluna Blood Moon, right? And then we have a Pokemon that hits through Protect, like the Faint Flamigo. We have Urshifu instead. We have Safety Goggles and Incineroar. And then instead of Typhlosion Whimsicott, you have Choice Specs Fluttermane, which is somewhat similar to Typhlosion. And then a different Grass type in Ogapon. No Tailwind, but instead Follow Me support. yeah, well, where do I start? I guess I start with a choice backs flutter main. So this flutter main is 1 point faster than the last flutter main I showcased, and it also has some special attack investment. If you ask me what exactly the spread does, I have no idea. Actually, I do have an idea. You survive jolly searching strikes from Urshifu. Some people actually run jolly Urshifu in order to outspeed some Ogre-Pon, Landwills, Chiyu, as well as the base 90s. So yeah, there's a reason for jolly Urshifu, and you would survive the searching strikes there, as well as Terra Stellar Sucker Punch from Chiampao, and yeah, I think the 164 special attack was for Pokemon that are EV'd to have a good chance to survive Terra Fairy Moonblast, then suddenly you have a good chance to KO them. Yeah, then we've got a Focus Sash Urshifu, same thing as the last Urshifu. 3 attacks, Wicked Blow, Close Combat, Sucker Punch. Really, really good Pokemon in general. And then we've got Ogre-Pon. With Ogre-Pon 140, we have talked about the 140 speed step before, and it also survives with Sword of Wind Close Combat, Sword of Wind Terra Normal E-Speed, Sludge Bomb from Landwills most of the time, as well as hit the Jump Point and attack. So yeah, I think this Ogre-Pon could also be jolly, but since sometimes you are in Trick Room, I think Adamant is quite nice. Also, since we have Icy Wind on the Flutter main, I thought that going a little faster with the Ogre-Pon doesn't hurt, because if you run a speed stat of like 134, -1 Flutter main actually, as well as Chiampao, they hit a speed stat of 136, so we should have at least 137, and then I was like, 137, modest at Shadowdon, so let's go with 138. And then I was like, yeah, why not go all the way with 140? Also allows you to outspeed Urshifu if they get an Icy Wind drop. If they are Choice Scarf and they have a speed stat of 140, they actually have a stat of 139, because this is how rounding works. And yeah, I think, wait, 140... Actually, maybe not, because now that I think about it, 210, 210 times 0.67 is still 140. I think I mixed it up with how Flutter main works, because 205 times 1.5 is 307 first, 307, and then 307 times 6 times 0.67. It's 204 then. Yeah. So I think with Urshifu you would speed type them, but some Urshifu also 139 or 138 speed only to be faster than Flutter main. But yeah, this Ogre-Pon is actually quite good. And then we've got Incineroar, and this Incineroar survives the Searching Strikes from Urshifu, which is super important. Because the idea behind this Urshifu, and also the reason why it has 79 speed, is that in some scenarios you could lead Incineroar Farigiraf, and you want to have a slower parting shot than the opponent, and then you can go for the slow parting shot into Ursaluna, set up Trick Room, and then just spam Terra Normal Hyper Voice with Helping Hand pretty much. That's the idea behind that. Yeah, Chop and Terra Fairy are actually also somewhat interesting. Terra Fairy, as I said, good defensive Terra in this format, and Chop preventing Parting Shot as well as Hyper Voice from opposing Ursaluna especially, really valuable. Also, that means that if you force a 1v1 endgame between Incineroar and Farigiraf, you can win this. Not always, because if your opponent plays it smart, they can get around the Chop. Like if they go for Trick Room and then they protect, when Chop ends, they can go for Hyper Voice once, when they can protect again, when they can go for hypervoice again, but still they have to see the line, and it still doesn't hurt to prevent parting shot and hypervoice in general. Also helps against the, I don't know, Singh Clefairy. I think Awash Omadi played Singh Clefairy in EOAC. I know that he played Clefairy. I'm not sure if it had Singh, but yeah, helps against that as well. And yeah, Ursaluna is just mint speed. Even though you have Icy Wind support on the Flutter main, it's really rare that you pair Flutter main with Ursaluna and yeah, just spam your Terra Normal Blood Moon. I guess it's nothing special. I'm sorry to tell you, but yeah, I think this Ursaluna Blood Moon, super strong damage dealer, Life Orb Terra Normal, no explanation needed. And then this Farigiraf, it survives Terra Fairy Moonblast from Specs Flutter main. It survives Meteor Beam. It survives Overheat from Scarf Chiyu. And on the physical side, you survive Terra Water Surging Strikes with Sword of Wind even, or in Rain, I think it was. Like the max damage was 124%, and with a Citrus Berry you technically have 125%, right? And you also survive, oh, what was it again? Oh, there was an important calc. Was it Terra? It was never Terra Fire Ivy Catcher from Ogerpon. Maybe after Intimidate, but no. There was an important calc for 172 bolt. I guess it was pretty much the Urshifu calc. Yeah. This Farigiraf also works amazingly on this team, blocking Fake Out and just providing the support for Ursaluna. Honestly speaking, though, I would say that this team is a little outdated, and the new variant with Iron Hands over Incineroar and Ogerpon Halflame over Ogerpon Wellspring, and I think Tornadus over Fluttermane is slightly better because having Tailwind as an option is nice. Ogerpon Halflame gives you a more offensive way to play this, and Iron Hands with Clear Amulet is a better fake out Trick Room Sweeper. But this version won a regional, and that's why I'm presenting it to you today. And let me know what you think about the teams I featured today. I featured 5 different teams today. Which one is your favorite? And those, by the way, are the teams we will take a look at the next week, or as I said, the week after. A lot of land was high, as you can see. I also sorted the Pokemon so that you can see, like I sorted the fire types first. There were only 3 regionals that were not won by Incineroar, which is interesting. Instead, Entei, Arcanine, Hisui, and Gouging Fire. Then we've got grass types, and you get the gist. I think it's just a nice overview if you sort it that way. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. As I said, you can find the pastes in the description below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Also, my favorite team is probably the one from Alex Underhill. Until next time, bye bye.